This is a whistle-stop recap of factors, multiples, square numbers and prime numbers. And we're going to start by looking at the number 5. So here are the first 12 multiples of 5, i.e. the first 12 numbers in the 5 times table. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55 and 60. Because we made all these numbers by multiplying by 5, all these numbers around the outside here are all multiples of 5. That means because we made them by multiplying by 5, they can all be divided exactly by 5 with no remainder. So the numbers around the outside are multiples of 5, and 5 is a factor of all of these numbers. Okay? So 5 is a factor because it divides exactly into all of these numbers. So the easy thing to remember is a factor multiplied by a factor makes a multiple. And so if we take the multiple and divide it by one factor, we will get another factor as long as it gets a whole number answer. Now let's look at two numbers. We've got keep our number 5, number 6. So let's keep our first 12 multiples of 5, and we're going to add in the first 12 multiples of 6, which you can see written around our 6 here. So these are the multiples of 6. 6 is a factor of all of these numbers. All of these numbers can be divided exactly by 6 with no remainder. They're made by multiplying by 6, so 6 is a factor. They can be divided exactly by 6, so they are multiples of 6. Now you might have noticed that there are some numbers which are in both sets of multiples, 30 and 60. These numbers can be made by multiplying by 5 and by multiplying by 6. So these numbers are common multiples of 5 and 6. Because they can both be divided by 5 and 6, 5 and 6 are common factors for these 4 numbers. As by now you've probably realised, factors and multiples are two sides of exactly the same thing. A number is a factor of its multiple, and a multiple is divided by its factors. So 30 and 60 are common multiples of 5 and 6. 5 and 6 are common factors of 30 and 60. There's two other special numbers that we're going to look at now, 25 and 36. Now these are special because 25 is the 5th multiple of 5, which means it's made by doing 5 times 5. And 36 is the 6th multiple of 6. So it's made by multiplying 6 by 6. So we call these square numbers because they are multiplying the same number together twice. 5 times 5, 6 times 6. So let's just have a quick look at the first 9 numbers in our system and their factors. Number 1, you can only make by multiplying 1 by 1. So we call that 1 squared. It's a square number. 2, we can only make by doing 1 times 2. 3 can only be made by multiplying 1 times 3. 4 can only be made by multiplying 1 times 4, but it can also be made by multiplying 2 by itself. So it has 3 factors. 5, only by 1 times 5. 6, there's a few more options. We've got 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. 7 can only be made by multiplying 1 by 7. 8 can be made by multiplying 1 by 8 or 2 by 4. And 9 can be made by multiplying 1 by 9, but also by multiplying 3 by itself. So you might notice that we have 3 numbers here, the ones in pink, 1, 4 and 9. These each have an odd number of factors. One only has 1, 4 and 9 both have 3 each. That's because one of their factors is multiplied by itself, meaning that these are square numbers. There's no whole number we can multiply by itself to get the number 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 or 8. We can only multiply a number by 1 or 2 other factors. So all these numbers that only have 2 factors, 1 and the number itself, these are prime numbers. So a prime number is any number where there are only 2 factors. It can only be divided by 1 or by itself. Any number that can be divided by more than 2 numbers is called a composite number. Square numbers are also composite numbers because they have more than 2 factors, but square numbers have an odd number. Okay. Hopefully that is a quick refresher that's reminded you of what you need to know about multiples, factors, square numbers and prime numbers.